Broadcasting from Detroit's Cass Corridor, it's the Metro on WDET. I'm Robyn Vincent.
And I'm Tia Graham. Today, we start in immigrant business corridors across Metro Detroit. Some shop owners say the fear surrounding federal immigration enforcement is changing daily life.
Then we widen the lens on affordability and economic policy with a local chamber leader who believes broader market forces will stabilize costs.
Later, we turn to safety in a different space, online. Reports of child exploitation and grooming remain alarmingly high, with new digital tools creating new risks.
And we close with history that still moves us, how the Negro Leagues left a cultural imprint far beyond the diamond.
Economic strain, digital danger, and cultural legacy, where folks are vulnerable and how communities push back. This is the Metro.
We begin inside small businesses in immigrant communities, where customers are disappearing, workers aren't showing up, and revenue is falling. Federal immigration enforcement has reshaped daily life in these neighborhoods. And some business owners say it's hitting them harder than COVID did. It's a predicament playing out in Metro Detroit, in Southwest Detroit, in Dearborn, in Hamtramck, where the businesses that anchor entire neighborhoods are under pressure. Mark Lee is president and CEO of the Lee Group, where he consults with small businesses across Southeast Michigan. He's here to tell us what this moment feels like on the ground. Mark, welcome back.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Mark, you talk to small business owners across Southeast Michigan every day. Over the past year, there's been a drumbeat of reporting from cities across the country. Business owners in immigrant communities saying federal immigration enforcement is devastating them. Is that landing here in Metro Detroit?
Absolutely. And I think that's a very fair statement. If you go down to locally to Southwest Detroit, as you mentioned in your opening comments, for example, they're feeling it. Hands down, they are absolutely feeling the loss of customers. There's a significant fear factor right now. I've talked to several businesses in Southwest. I've talked to leaders of organizations in Southwest Detroit as well. And quite frankly, a lot of those business owners are afraid to even talk about it publicly. They're afraid to even reach out because there's a fear that someone may be there to certainly try to enforce the policies coming out of Washington, D.C. So to answer your question, at the street level, these businesses are fearful. They're very concerned. And on certain days of the week, those restaurants might be packed. And what's happening is that some of the customers are not even going for the fear of being deported as well.
We've experienced this kind of fear here on the Metro. I mean, this is a talk show, and we've had a hard time getting business owners to come onto the show to talk about this fear. I mean, it's just the notion of speaking this into existence further. I think there are business owners who are afraid that's going to more severely impact their businesses in ways that they're already feeling. In reporting, Mark, from Chicago and Minneapolis and right here in Southwest Detroit, we're hearing that businesses that are being hurt, they haven't actually been raided. Again, I want to stay on this notion of fear. It's a fear economy. Customers won't leave home. Workers won't come in. Mm-hmm. We've heard about empty barber chairs. We've heard about prescriptions filled but never picked up. A bakery throwing out 20% of its bread. I wonder if you can give us a little bit more of an idea, perhaps an example of this fear-driven downturn, and if you think it's limited to immigrant-owned businesses or if it's spreading wider.
No, it's not limited to immigrant-owned businesses. It is spreading wider. Some of the industries are being impacted. Our hospitality industry, for example, the restaurant industry, the construction and skilled trades are also being highly impacted at this point. Agriculture and farming. We're talking about the service industry, such as lawn care. Obviously today's going to be a beautiful day weather-wise. but we're talking about the snow removal services. So these are beyond, just beyond the local restaurants, for example. This is expanding significantly. And so I think the challenge that you're seeing is exactly what you referenced. We don't know if these individuals are being rated, but it's the fear factor. The fear is what's rearing its ugly head. You have to look no further than last week when there was a story that broke last week where a reporter apparently was about to ask a question. He saw a couple of patrol agents out there, and they sped off. And that was also in the city. I think it was on the west side or southwest Detroit, I don't recall. But the point is, everywhere you look right now, you're not just seeing the empty chairs. You are just literally feeling the fear. So to answer your question about an example, I did talk to a major business owner in the city in Southwest. And, as you know, I contribute, obviously, with you, Robyn. And he was very clear to me. I said I was going to invite him to do something with me. And he said, Mark, I just can't do it. And I said, why not? He said, there is significant fear within the community. And so, therefore, if I go out publicly, there's a concern that I'm raising the awareness level to this issue. And as a result, there's a fear that more people are going to come to that part of the city and start to deport and sending people out. So this is a real situation. It is worse, in my opinion, than the pandemic. The pandemic caught everybody by surprise. And this one, the administration has been talking about doing it even before the election occurred over a year ago.
You've mentioned two things here that I want to emphasize. First is that this disruption is widespread. I mean, more than 1/5 of the restaurant workforce nationally is foreign born. But as you have pointed out, it's not just restaurants, it's construction, it's landscaping, it's agriculture, it's home health care. And then the other thing that you're mentioning that I think is worth pulling apart a little bit more is how this is worse than the pandemic. When you think about it, during the pandemic, there were government loans. There
Right.
was a sense of neighborliness, of this idea that we were weathering the storm together. Now it feels like there's no safety net for businesses that are being hurt by this. So my question to you, Mark, is what does that mean for survival?
Yeah. And another thing, Robyn, you make an excellent comment. Let's unpack it by saying this. The pandemic impacted everybody. It impacted everybody, irrespective of your race, ethnicity, your job, whatever. It impacted everybody. So that I want to make sure that's crystal clear. It's very broad. This is, to your point, a lot more specific. And so I think what we need to understand is we are in the mode, businesses are in the mode of surviving. We always talk about growing and thriving and sustainability when we talk about whether you're a small, medium, or large business. But the reality is you have a lot of these small businesses, some are just mom and pops, some are solopreneurs. They're trying to figure out now how to survive. How do you survive when your revenue is being reduced significantly and your costs are still going up? And oh, by the way, the employees that you rely on are afraid to come to work. I mean, that is a daily fear. And so the question becomes, how do you deal with that? And from a business standpoint, you really have to look at your costs. You have to look at how much you can certainly absorb. You have to maybe broaden your labor pool, be rather honest with you, and start to recruit more broad. So it's really, all these are interconnected parts. But the fact of the matter is a lot of these businesses are just trying to get by day to day right now.
Let's talk a little bit more about what it's like to be an employer right now. The Small Business Association of Michigan is warning owners to expect more I-9 audits and possible workplace raids.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, the federal government is reclassifying people's legal status. And it's happening practically overnight. Temporary protected status for Haitians, for example, was terminated last summer. And that meant suddenly workers who were lawfully here were not.
Right.
Mark, if you're a small business owner, you're being told to verify your worker's status in a system where the rules keep changing underneath you. How do you navigate that?
That's a challenge because the thing about business owners and businesses in general, quite frankly, Robyn, is that we like stability. We like to know what the policies are. And the constant shifting of the status that you're referencing, for example, that creates more uncertainty. So how do you handle that? The fact of the matter is you need to have contingency plans. You need to figure out some of these employees are going to be afraid to come to work. They need the money, but they're afraid to come to work. They're afraid to leave their homes. So it's very much a slippery slope. You still got to abide by the rules. You still have to understand the policies. You still have to make yourself aware. Don't come from a blind spot. Make sure you consult an attorney, consult with the right business advisors to help you come up with a plan of how to address this. I can't reinforce enough that you have to be there for your employees. You still have to be there for your customers. You still have to be very transparent. Whatever you decide to do, do not disappear. Do not put your head in the sand. So transparency and communication are crucial right now, but also go back and look at your plans and make sure that you can reallocate where you need to and consult with the right people moving forward.
So right now, small business owners have to reach out. They have to make connections. They have to be communicative with people who can support them. You're talking about consultants and attorneys, but Mark, that costs money.
Yes, it does. And there are a lot of free services out there. And I would advise people to certainly Google, right? Google free services, if you will, in this space, and you have a plethora of resources that will pop up. Fortunately, in Detroit, we have a lot of nonprofit organizations, peppered throughout the city, and they're willing to help you for free. So now is the time. Universities will be. We have a great university ecosystem here in Metro Detroit and across southeastern Michigan. Reach out to them, and now is not the time to sit and do nothing. You have to get off the couch. I'm not suggesting people are on the couch, but you have to do your research. Reach out to your advisors. Again, I have a board of advisors, Robyn, that I reach out to, that I talk to on a daily basis. And right now, more than ever, it's important that you reach out and get those resources, leverage those resources, and don't be afraid to ask even the most basic questions, because right now, these are perilous times as you're talking about the situation that businesses are currently dealing with. And not just small businesses, but medium and large businesses are joining with it as well. The difference is they have the resources to weather the storm.
It's the Metro on WDET. I'm Robyn Vincent. My guest is small business consultant Mark Lee. He leads the Lee Group. We're discussing the impacts of federal immigration enforcement on businesses in Metro Detroit and the local economy. Mark, some businesses have knowingly been hiring people that are not here through the proper channels. And some people are going to say, well, you as a business owner should have to suffer. You should have to face some consequences because you haven't been doing things on the books. Now, I'm not asking you whether what that business owner is doing is right or wrong, but I just want you to sound off on that perspective, if you would.
People need to, if you're going to have a business and you're a business owner, you still have to follow policies. You need to understand the policies and the rules. You really do. You don't want to go off. You want to stay inside the guardrails that provide a safety net for you, although you may feel like there's not a safety net. You don't want to break those rules, because once you break those rules, you're going to be just as much at risk in terms of having challenges confronting your business. And so right now what you want to do is, again, as we referenced earlier, make sure you make yourself aware. Make sure you understand the rules and the policies. I know it's fluid right now. It's transparent. There's a lot of nervousness and there's a lot of uncertainty. But at this point in time, Robyn, you want to mitigate that risk. You want to mitigate that risk for yourself and for your business, and continue to plow ahead, put your nose to the grindstone, make sure that you focus on the future and dealing with the situation the best way you can. You asked me earlier, how long is this going to last? I have no idea. I don't think anybody has an idea right now. So my recommendation would be assume that this might last longer term as opposed to shorter term. But the bottom line is stay focused, stay driven, and make sure you continue to do the right thing.
Well, this goes back to the continuing theme of many of our conversations about small businesses and the local economy, which is uncertainty. Mark, I think something that's missing in a lot of the conversations and the coverage that I'm seeing about this is how far the damage actually radiates beyond
Yeah.
immigrant-owned businesses when we talk about the impacts of federal immigration enforcement on businesses and the economy. There are reports from Palm Beach, Florida, that's one of the wealthiest communities in the country, of restaurant employees biking to work to
Hmm.
avoid being pulled over. The Brookings Institution is warning that when immigrants reduce their spending, it affects the whole economy. Mark, if a restaurant on Verner in Southwest Detroit cuts hours, that's hitting the food distributor, that's hitting the landlord, that's hitting the linen service. Are you seeing that kind of cascade?
Absolutely. What you're talking about is the ripple effect. So a lot of times we just think that, okay, well, a person loses their job, it's not going to necessarily impact the overall economy. No, that's not true at all, because that person is going to spend money at other businesses. Those dollars will extend throughout the entire community. And so what we're going to continue to see right now is that the economies of local communities will continue to be impacted. When you talk about reducing hours, those people are not necessarily going to have money in their pockets. And so therefore they're not going to necessarily spend their dollars to support local businesses. So there's a ripple effect. You're talking about taxes. I mean, for those who are certainly here legally, for lack of a better phrase, working, they're paying taxes, but they're fearful and they walk away and they lose their job. All of a sudden, your tax revenue becomes weakened. Economic development opportunities become weakened. Hiring of other people become weakened. So there's an extension of other issues that need to be addressed. And don't just assume that that one restaurant will be impacted. The entire community economically will be impacted, and not necessarily in a positive way.
This is the Metro on WDET. I'm Robyn Vincent. My guest is small business consultant Mark Lee. He leads the Lee Group. We're discussing the impacts of federal immigration enforcement on businesses in Metro Detroit and the local economy. Up next, we'll talk about how we can gauge the data and gauge the impacts of what's happening right now. Stay with us. Mark, I want to think about how we can potentially measure the impacts. In California, LA County just released a comprehensive economic study, and the results are quite sobering. $2.5 billion lost in economic output in 6 months. 82% of businesses negatively affected. And this is from the increase in immigration enforcement, the high visibility of it, and things like protests and closures. In Minneapolis, officials have estimated $20 million a week in losses.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have those numbers for Metro Detroit, nor have we seen as visible of immigration enforcement here, though we are getting reports all the time of how enforcement is ramping up.
Right.
Do you think we need the kind of data that LA County and Minneapolis is collecting?
Absolutely. I think, absolutely. And let's go back to LA County. Remember, California is a border state, right? So there's going to certainly be a significant level of impact over there. Minneapolis, in a different way, is a northern border state, right? We are a border city. And I think in terms of Florida is a border state, Texas is a border state. Chicago and Michigan, Chicago and Detroit, we have huge populations as well in that space. So the bottom line, to answer your question, we need to have that data. It needs to be transparent. It needs to be done. I think that it needs to be shared. I don't know which organization should take the lead. I have an idea, but an organization should take the lead and extrapolate that data, because here's why. Local businesses can give you the impact on a weekly basis. They can say, hey, yeah, my business is down. But I think there's power in numbers. And when you see that Metro Detroit with 5 million people, the state of Michigan with 10 million people, and you saw the economic impact in terms of dollars, Robyn, that tells a powerful story. And it talks about why it could have a long-term negative impact on our economy, trying to attract new residents, new businesses, and other areas of opportunity for the state of Michigan as well as the city of Detroit. So yes, a study needs to be done, needs to be conducted, and it needs to be shared with business leaders of small, medium, and large organizations.
Mark, before I let you go, I want to think about something that listeners may be asking themselves right now, and that is how they can act in solidarity. I mean, customers have been volunteering to work for free at struggling restaurants. Fundraisers are collecting six figures for groceries. Diners going out more or not less because they're afraid that their favorite places are going to close. These are examples of some things that are happening right now. Are you seeing that kind of response from the broader Metro Detroit residents and community? And what's your advice to people who want to keep small businesses strong right now?
One of the things I love about Detroit, my hometown, born and raised all the way through, is the way people here step up and help others. I've lived in 9 different cities across the country, and there's no city like Detroit in the state of Michigan, or state like the state of Michigan. Here's what you can do. Shop local. Do not turn your backs on these businesses. Be supportive. Be there, right? Write your Congress people. Talk to them. Make phone calls. This is not a political discussion. I don't talk politics. You know that. But the bottom line is you need to still make your voice heard. You can still make your voice heard, but you can also make your voices heard through your pocketbooks and through your wallets. Spend money. Show up on weekends. Detroit has over 60,000 small businesses. Put that sink in, 60,000 small businesses. So spend your money with them, help them grow their revenue, and be very supportive. Now is the time to really help them out and strengthen their cause, because they help us out all the time and every day of the week, of the year.
I want to think about one more thing before I really let you go, Mark.
Okay.
Michigan has been fighting population decline for decades, and I would be remiss not to mention this, that immigrant communities have been a bright spot in that.
Yes.
I'm thinking about Hamtramck's revitalization, the business growth along Verner, Dearborn's economic engine. Immigrants make up over 8% of Michigan's workforce. Over in Chicago, one business owner said she worries enforcement could set her neighborhood back 25 or 30 years. When you think about the trajectory of small business in Metro Detroit, what concerns you most about this, about where this is headed when we think about immigrant communities and how they have breathed so much life into the small business community?
Look at where Detroit's growth has come in the last couple of years, population-wise, right? It's come from the immigrant community. It's come from diverse segments as well. And so through extension, a lot of those individuals are bringing resources, they're bringing money, they're bringing jobs, and they're opening up businesses. So to answer your question, the trajectory is, if we don't continue to address these concerns, the momentum that we have right now will eventually stall out. And it gets flattened out. We don't want to see the city's population decline. We don't want to see the state of Michigan's population decline. We want this to be a mecca of entrepreneurs where people can come and be successful, and not only in the city of Detroit, but the state of Michigan. So to answer your question, trajectory is still concerning right now. We still got momentum, but we got to keep that momentum going and understand that small businesses are a critical part of the economic development moving forward.
So in other words, shop local. Continue to shop local.
Bottom line is shop local and be supportive as much as you can. Spend your money. Spend your money with them. No question about it.
Mark Lee is president and CEO of the Lee Group, where he consults small businesses. Mark, thanks as always.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It's the Metro on WDET. Coming up, we'll continue discussing the economy. We'll hear from the leader of a local chamber of commerce that works with immigrant communities and why she believes good days are ahead for small businesses. Stay with us.